You can't fact check a fascist. So many journalists spending all this time doing these like fact checks of Donald Trump. Was this statement true? Was this statement partially true? How could Trump do this? How could Musk think this? It's not gratifying, it's very cold comfort, but on some level, I get it, because I've been paying attention to pro wrestling for 30-odd years now. Pro wrestling is the language and the mindset that best, I think, explains the rise of American fascism. Trump understands from pro wrestling that spectacle, that meaning what you say, even if you're saying a complete lie, is much more important than telling the truth. We currently have a president who is deeply, deeply influenced by the theatrical athletic event, the pseudo sport, and it's unfortunately massively important to how the United States has completely messed itself up in the past few years.
Catching the boot, Cobra strike! Oh, the Venom! On target, Santino for the victory!
I remember when I was reporting this book that I wrote in 2020, during the final months of the first Trump administration, I called up a bunch of Republican staffers and I would ask them, so what do you know about wrestling? And to a person, they would say, oh, wrestling's the new thing. The whole Trump administration, that's what you got to be able to talk about. Prior to that, throughout most administrations, it was baseball. Under Obama, it was basketball. And at least as of 2020, the small talk was wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, our opening contest from the Isle of Tonga, King of Who.
He's getting hammered in there now, just like a ping pong ball, back and forth. Oh, reversal now, wow. He went in there at about 60 miles an hour.
In wrestling, you have this concept, kayfabe, K-A-Y-F-A-B-E. It comes from old carnival speak, it's slang. And kayfabe is when you present something that isn't true, but you present it with such commitment that it almost becomes reality. It was like the mafia. You know, in the mafia, they have this concept of omerta, like you can't talk about what happens in organized crime in the family. That was kayfabe for 100 years. You could not present to the outside world, to someone who was not an insider, that wrestling was fake in any way. Then it gets complicated. There's a front page story on the New York Times saying wrestling is fake, hear ye, wrestling is fake in 1989.
I think this is fake.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake? You come like that, huh?
And from then on, you have this whole American audience that doesn't know what to do, because they can't suspend their disbelief anymore. Before, they could say, yeah, it looks fake, but you know what? I'm choosing to believe it's real. Once it had been confirmed that it was fake, it's like, well, why should I bother?
If you ever cross my path again, if I ever see you, no matter where, it doesn't matter, I ever see that Trump logo anywhere around me, I'll knock you on your billionaire's butt. Oh, one other thing, Mr. Trump. About the only thing I can say to you here tonight is, Donald Trump, yeah!
But something new emerged. What emerged is something I call Neo-kayfabe, which is not just the simple lie of saying, hey, ladies and gentlemen, everything you see tonight is real. In fact, now you start from this very cynical place by telling the audience most of what you hear is fake. It's all BS. Don't worry about it, except for the parts that you want to be real. And the parts that you want to be real, maybe they are real. People become convinced that there's some secret reality beneath the surface, that if they just watch closely enough, and if they read all the blogs, and if they learn all the rumors, and if they connect all the dots, they'll know the secret truth of what's going on in wrestling. And the people who run wrestling know that this conspiratorial thinking is how fans think. So they feed them BS. It starts to resemble politics today.
Our cities have already become hellholes, a crime-ridden, gang-infested, terror-filled dumping ground, bloodshed, chaos, and violent crime. Stone cold killers.
Donald Trump get up and give this sort of neo-kayfabe reality where he gives some truths, some half-truths, some complete lies, and all people are thinking is, this is mostly false, but some of it's true, but I can't figure out what. And then all of a sudden you're confused and the country falls apart. That's how the people in power are playing. They send this huge barrage at you, and you have two options when you're faced with that. One, you can become a kind of QAnon conspiracy theorist obsessive and go, okay, I'm gonna try and pick out this truth, and this part's not true, and this part is true, and I'm gonna get it all figured out. Or you can do the thing that most people do, which I think is ultimately more dangerous, which is you go, who cares if it's true? I'm just gonna sit back and let this wash over me. I'm just gonna have the spectacle. Just watch this crazy thing happen. And that's how we got Trump twice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest.
WrestleMania 4. Everybody wanted it. Everybody fought for it. Hotels all over the world were trying to get WrestleMania 4, and Trump Plaza got it.
The greatest thing to happen is going to be WrestleMania.
As early as the 1980s, he was hosting wrestling shows, like big ticket ones that were broadcast on pay-per-view for Vince McMahon, the emperor of pro wrestling in the United States. And then it kept getting further. He would appear, he would be at ringside, he'd be standing and giving standing ovations to Hulk Hogan, and then eventually he actually appeared as a character in the show.
How are you?
Donald Trump and Vince McMahon, who in real life are very good friends,
My office. It must be some sort of mistake.
had to compete with one
It
another.
might be a mistake, but it's on your part, Vince. You know, I bought this from you, right?
Donald Trump was on television virtually every week for months on this very popular wrestling show, being not only a character, but the good guy. Vince was being portrayed, as he often is, as the bad guy, and Trump was supposed to be this magnanimous billionaire who made money fall from the sky.
You see, Vince is a taker and I'm a giver. After the show is over, I'm giving you a full refund of whatever the hell you paid.
That's unbelievable.
It was fun, it was entertaining, and Trump's wrestler won, and he got to shave Vince McMahon's head on live television. This is the kind of thing you do in pro wrestling. And that appearance, that set of appearances in 2007 was instrumental in Trump getting his career back on track. He was put on there because The Apprentice was falling in ratings. It was a crossover event. So that boosted his ratings, but also more importantly, Trump had not really worked a rowdy, interactive, almost bloodthirsty crowd before. Everyone is sitting there screaming bloody murder at the people they don't like, or cheering like they just saw Jesus if it's the person they do like. And Donald Trump learned how to work a crowd like that. And that was instrumental to how he got to where he is today, was working his rallies that way. Trump really opened a door. But people who haven't even watched pro wrestling, now they've watched Trump. They've seen how Trump acts, and they imitate him. And what Trump is imitating is pro wrestling, because he's been watching it since he was about 8 or 9 years old. The guy he's fighting, the person who's in charge of the whole thing, is profiting off of hatred of himself. And this is what Trump does too.
Hell, you don't know what it's like being me. I've got an empire to run, Sean. You don't know that my life is a nightmare. You have something that I can't have. You have something that money can't buy. You've got that inner peace. I don't have that, and I want it.
Vince McMahon, for him, the excitement was sort of making everybody deal with his issues on a massive televised scale, and that's what Trump does to us. Trump knows that 70% of the country hates him with a blinding passion, but he's learned how to work that for himself. He's learned how to manipulate that hatred into the highest echelons of power. It's really something.
Kamala, you don't get any worse than you. Kamala, I can't stand you, Kamala. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Out. Get out. Can't stand you, Kamala. Get out. You've destroyed our country.
Because we've all lost this consensus reality, because liberal democracy no longer has a set of consensus realities, of facts we can all agree on, of information sources we all trust, we have this cynical belief that nothing is really true. And when nothing is true, you can get away with a lot. If you are a bad actor who wants to hurt people and has no shame, once there's no consensus reality, you can just lie your way to the top. You can just bald-facedly lie, or better yet, you can lie and then say some stuff that's so true, people are amazed you're even saying it. And you mix those two together, and baby, you've got a very potent stew.
He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the first-hand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. And by the way, I've been trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it.
J.D. Vance, near the end of the campaign, started talking about how immigrants from Haiti were invading towns and eating people's dogs and cats. This was total nonsense. And J.D. Vance knew it was nonsense.
You just said that this is a story that you created.
Now, what was interesting was eventually J.D. Vance admitted that it was nonsense, but said, yeah, it may not have happened, but it expresses a deeper truth. It expresses some emotional reality that is true for people. And that kind of layering of lies to express a deeper truth is very dangerous. When Trump and Vance met with Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House and they had their big photo op, that was an example, I think, of a kind of worked shoot. And a worked shoot is when you have something that's totally made up, but you make it up to look like it was spontaneous and unplanned. You make it up to look like it was not supposed to happen, even though it's completely scripted. And that is what we have in politics now. We have all of these worked shoot moments where people think they're seeing something where the script is being flipped or a truth is being told accidentally, but it's all deliberate. It's all deliberate because people know how to misinform the public.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. You're gambling with World War III.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting?
This is going to be great television, I will say that.
The whole point of that moment was to pivot, to do what they call in wrestling a heel turn, and have America just completely change sides in a war on live television. That was the idea.
On Saturday night at the Elimination Chamber, the WWE shocked the world as John Cena turned heel, joined The Rock, and attacked Cody Rhodes.
It's not only a template for politics, but it's also
It's a launching pad, yeah. People can start there and become very involved in Republican politics now. For example, the Department of Education, which is now run by Vince McMahon's wife, Linda McMahon.
How come?
How come? Because the McMahons and the Trumps have been close friends for decades. Linda McMahon already served in the first Trump cabinet. Vince McMahon's wife, whose main business accomplishment is being a pro wrestling entrepreneur, was the director of small business administration in the first Trump administration. And now she's the Secretary of Education as they are destroying, very explicitly, dismantling the Department of Education.
You know, I've been asked why in the world I would want to be the secretary of a department that is going to be done away with, and I'm actually firing myself.
She's an extraordinary person, and hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon.
The president signed an executive order to shut down the Department of Education and have me be the last secretary.
People can start there and become very involved in Republican politics now. Hulk Hogan, for example, was one of the keynote speakers at the Republican National Convention, standing up there saying that Trumpomania is running wild across America, and he rips his shirt open to reveal a Trump shirt beneath it.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
That kind of pageantry and that kind of elevation of a guy like Hulk Hogan to public figure, to political spokesperson, is very dangerous. There are a lot of good wrestlers out there, but Hulk Hogan is somebody who is an on-the-record racist. And now he's speaking at the Republican National Convention.
Donald Trump is a real American hero.
When Hulk Hogan spoke, this was his face. He was just in awe. He loves Hulk Hogan. He hates most everybody, but he loves Hulk Hogan.
My God! Hulk Hogan is back!
Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen him in that yellow.
Look at him standing!
Politics today, Trump turned it into a kind of reality television pro wrestling thing where I don't think the Democrats keep trying to turn the clock back and have fact checks and debates and things like that. But I don't think that's the future. I don't know what the future looks like. It's very frightening to me. But I think that measured debate that liberals really, myself included, really value, we need to come up with a better way of having discussions than just saying, well, here's this side and here's this side. Let's have them talk. Because one side figured out you can just do kayfabe all the time. And the other side doesn't even know what kayfabe is. And that's a real problem. What you need is somebody out there going, Donald Trump, I'm calling you out tonight. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell all of these people that I've had enough from you. We don't have any Democratic politicians who talk like that. You can tell the truth in a pro wrestling way, and more people are gonna gravitate you. And we just don't really have Democratic politicians who bother with that. They're still stuck in this, well, if I just say the right numbers and give the right spin, then surely the rational people will show up and vote for me. But we're not rational people. Americans or humans in general, we respond to myth. We respond to religion. We respond to getting stirred up by things that we can't prove. And we most of all, we just get stirred up by spectacle and emotion.
Perched up there at the elbow. He got it. He nailed him. He got it. 1, 2, no. The Hulkster's out of there. Look at him. Believe that.
I wouldn't be saying these things a few years ago because it would have been terribly out of character for a journalist. But now I'm not just a journalist, I'm an exile. Like I'm a regime critic who wrote a critical biography of the husband of a cabinet member. and I'm trans.
Now, where's my man? The host of WrestleMania 4 and 5, Donald Trump!
All right! The Donald!
Yeah. Donald, great to see you. First of all, I gotta say the hair looks great.
Thank you, Jesse.
You know what? I think that we may need a wrestler in the White House in 2008.
All right!
Yeah!
What I think journalism can learn from pro wrestling is that you need to look at the effects and the harms rather than trying to figure out what's going on inside the heart of somebody who's in a position of power. I watched so many journalists spending all this time doing these fact checks of Donald Trump. Was this statement true? Was this statement partially true? And I just kept thinking, you're completely missing the point. It's not about true and false. It's about the real life danger and damage that the man can do. The important part is the countless people dying, as the countless people threatened, is the countless people getting snatched up off the streets and thrown into secret prisons in other countries. It boggles my mind that we spend all this time trying to parse and fact check when we should be just trying to stop.